Welcome back to On the Move with Victor Shi. This is Victor Shi. This is Friday, February 10th. We have made it through the week, thank goodness. I'm actually right now not in Los Angeles. I am in Chicago. I am dressed up because right after this, I will be attending a panel with the University of Chicago's Institute of Politics. I'll be joined by Representative Elisa Slotkin as well as Jack Lobel of Voters of Tomorrow, and we're going to do a panel about Gen Z. So if anyone is listening from Chicago or from Illinois and can make it down to University of Chicago by noon Central Time, feel free to come join. It would be great to see you. But in other event, today we were supposed to have on Molly Jong-Fast, but she unfortunately can't be with us today due to an emergency. But we do have her slated for next week, so she will be back. We will be talking about all of the craziness regarding the Republican Party. But before we get into maybe some of your questions as we pivot the show, I just want to get into some of the news of the day. First off, yesterday there was some major breaking news regarding former Vice President Mike Pence getting subpoenaed by Special Counsel Jack Smith. Now, this was a subpoena for his involvement on January 6th, supposedly, so not regarding Mar-a-Lago in any way, but this was regarding his involvement on January 6th. So this really is another indication that Jack Smith is already going up the totem pole. And so it's a very good sign, I think, for democracy, for accountability. We'll see whether or not Mike Pence responds to the subpoena. It seems like he will comply, and even if he doesn't comply, there's a lot of talk that he has to comply and come in and testify. So we'll see whether or not that happens. But so far, what we are seeing with Jack Smith is that the investigation is on full speed ahead. We are seeing the Department of Justice really going after these people who were involved on January 6th as well as Mar-a-Lago. And my only hope is that I hope that the Department of Justice and Jack Smith really amp up this investigation and go all the way up the totem pole to investigate Donald Trump and subpoena Donald Trump, because that's what actually matters. Donald Trump is the one running for office. He's the one who still poses a threat to democracy, and he must be held accountable sooner than later. Because as we're seeing right now, he's being let back on to different social media platforms. He's continuing to spew his big lie. He's continuing to really just endanger democracy, and we have to make sure that this man gets held accountable before it's too late. And so Mike Pence, I think that's a great story, and Jack Smith, I really hope that he's moving ahead in full steam. The next piece of story that we have is yesterday there was a closed door briefing with a bunch of military officials who were leading the briefing about the Chinese spy balloon. And there was this really disturbing article about, and maybe we shouldn't be shocked by this, but Marjorie Taylor Greene was yelling and screaming and using profanity during the meeting about Chinese and about China and China basically spying on us. It was a really sad kind of indication of just how low we have gotten as a country, about how low we have gotten from, Marjorie Taylor Greene has gotten. Even for Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think that's a whole nother level. These are military officials who are leading a congressional briefing behind closed doors. And what does Marjorie Taylor Greene do? She doesn't show any respect. She doesn't show any civility. She doesn't show any decorum. Instead, what she does is she lashes out at these military officials and pretends like she's a baby. I mean, it was just like what she did during the State of the Union when President Biden was speaking. Who yelled and who said, "It's your fault, you're lying"? It was Marjorie Taylor Greene. And this is just yet another indication of how low someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene has become. She has no shame. She has no sense of embarrassment. She's willing to embarrass herself and the entire country so that she can do this. And this is, just a reminder that she is on the House Oversight and also the House Homeland Security committees. This is someone who isn't, serving on these low-level committees. She is having a direct say in our nation's national security. And, this is someone who is in charge of a lot, and she's unhinged. She's really kind of wild, and she has no respect for any of how Congress is supposed to function. And so it's a really sad reality. And I hope, come 2024, enough of her voters come to the realization that this is just not the woman that we want serving our country. It's just an embarrassment on so many different levels. And every single day, I think that she can't do something that embarrasses herself more, but she does it again. And yesterday was just another indication of that. One more piece of news that I have for all of you. This is regarding Gen Z, and luckily part of the organization that I'm a part of called Voters of Tomorrow. They yesterday launched a PAC to support candidates who are running for office in 2024 who have the backs of Gen Z. And so the whole point of this PAC is it's a Gen Z led PAC. We're going to be looking at candidates running for office across the country and seeing whether or not they agree with the priorities and values of Gen Z. If they don't, if they have a proven track record that they are against the values of Gen Z, things like defending our rights, things like protecting abortion, things like defending and fighting for climate change, all of these issues that Gen Z cares deeply about, if these candidates don't support, then we won't be supporting them. But if they do, we'll be spending money on them, we'll be investing in them, we'll be recruiting in these candidates. So look ahead for this PAC. I think it's a great, exciting endeavor that Voters of Tomorrow are kind of going on, and hopefully you will all donate some. There will be more information later on next week with some ways to donate and some ways to help on, but this is yet another tool that we have in the tool bag to make sure that come 2024 we have candidates who actually support us, and those who get elected actually do support us. So that's a new PAC on the Gen Z front. And one last, I guess, piece of levity for all of us listening today. Yesterday, Drew Hamlin, who all of us might know as the person who suffered the heart attack on the field, was back yesterday, and he spoke, and it was just a really poignant speech, kind of showing his recovery. It was a great kind of effort of strength. Drew Hamlin, he was the Buffalo Bills player, and yesterday he said something that I thought was particularly moving, which is sometimes our own visions are too small. God's plan was to have a purpose greater than any game in this world, using me to help give others hope. I have a long journey ahead, but it's not. But it's a lot easier to face your fears when you know your purpose. And I think this is someone who definitely knows his purpose. Drew Hamlin, Damar Hamlin, has done a lot to inspire all of us. And after what happened to him, I think we can all use some inspiration these days. So that was a moment of levity against the backdrop of a lot of, I think, dark news and Republicans trying to destroy our democracy. So that's all the news that I have for you this morning. But I do have questions that you have all submitted to me, and I want to get to some of them. So the first question I have is, let's see. This is a good one. So Jenny from Baltimore asks, AI is a scary prospect with amazing potential. Should working people be worried we'll be out of our jobs? It seems like an important time to start working toward universal income. Thoughts? I agree with you. I think AI is a scary prospect, and the most kind of prominent aspect of that is ChatGPT right now. ChatGPT is this platform that basically, and we've talked about this on this show, that you could insert anything and it would basically tell you it. You can insert anything like ask me or tell me about quantum mechanics, and it'll tell you about quantum mechanics in a really, really complex way. You can tell it to write an essay for you. It'll write it in a really complex way. Actually, the other day, Neil Katyal, who was the former Solicitor General who's on MSNBC a lot, was writing a New York Times op-ed, and he just casually asked ChatGPT to write an op-ed in the style of Neil Katyal, and it did. And he was like, "This is basically my voice," and it's quite extraordinary. So I think there's moments to be scared. There's also moments to find, wow, this is just incredible technology, and we have to make sure that it doesn't get exploited because it's a whole other dimension of technology that we've never seen before. In terms of your other question about should working people be worried we'll be out of our jobs, I don't think that should be as big of a concern right now. If the jobs reports were saying something different, I think that might tell a different story. But right now, jobs are on the rise. We're seeing people still kind of get jobs, get necessary jobs, get manufacturing, labor jobs. And so things are looking good right now in terms of the job market. I don't think there's anything that would indicate that AI is kind of coming up full steam ahead and taking all of our jobs. But I think there is some, I do understand your concern. I do think that AI might be this new forefront. We're at this new forefront of AI where if we don't control it well, it might take some of our jobs in the future. But as of right now, I don't think there's any room for concern. When we talk about universal income, that was something that Andrew Yang really pushed for. Universal basic income to give everyone the same income, or maybe not income, but basically universal basic income would give everyone the same amount of money per month from the government. So I think his proposal was about $1,000 per household. I had reservations with that policy. I don't think that's necessary. I think overall we do need an increase in wages. I think people need to get paid for what they make for what they are for what they do. And right now, I think our minimum wage is far too low for any person out there to make a sustainable living and to actually sustain themselves. And so I do think there's an argument to be made about increasing wages to give workers the rights they deserve. That was something that President Biden spoke about very eloquently during his State of the Union address. So I hope that that actually happens and we can find some sort of pathway to increase wages for working families. Um, let's see. One other question that I have. Is from Danielle in Chicago. Ukraine definitely needs support, but our generation is still feeling the cost of previous military spending and the money, spending in money and lives to promote democracy abroad. Is this different? I do think Ukraine is different. I think Ukraine needs our support, like you said. I think overall, in terms of US history, we've had a long history of spending a lot of money in military. That was a key debate during the Trump administration. And also now, whether or not we need to be pouring out millions and billions to our defense spending when we've done it all this time, and wars have been perpetuated for lots of times and there doesn't seem to be any tangible result. But I do think Ukraine is different because it's against Russia. Russia is still kind of going at it, and Ukraine, it really kind of represents the kind of possibility of democracy. This was once a democracy, and I think it's a wake-up call for all of us that it could happen here too if we don't stay vigilant and we don't stay ready. The Ukrainian people have shown just how much they're willing to fight for this. As we all seen, Zelensky has been that leader to really unite the country during this moment of turmoil and war. And so I think it is up to all of us to show that we are standing with Ukraine. The rest of the world is doing that as well, that we are against this force Russia that is trying to disintegrate Ukraine into part of Russia. And so I think for all of us, it's important for us to stand with democracy, to really unite behind Ukraine and say that we stand with you, we stand for democracy. And part of it is showing them our support and giving them our support. Recently, we gave them some tanks and we gave them some military weapons to help them fight their war. And I think that's important because what's their fight is also our fight. One of the key tenets of NATO is that, if one country gets pulled into conflict, so does all of us. And so Ukraine is one of the countries that needs our support desperately. And I do think it's different from other wars that we fought in the sense that this was once a democracy, that we have to keep on protecting our democracy when it's under siege. And so what we do internationally is, I think, a reflection of what we believe domestically. And so I hope all of us will continue showing our support to Ukraine in the weeks and months ahead, and hopefully this war ends sooner than later. That is all the news and questions that we have time for today. Again, we'll be back next week with some amazing, amazing guests. You do not want to miss that. It's not like there's a shortage of news. We'll be back next Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, right here on YouTube.com/Politicon. You do not want to miss them. We'll be back again next Monday, bright and early for you, and to talk about the news of the day with some amazing guests. Do not miss that. I hope all of you have a safe and wonderful rest of your weekend, and please get some rest. I will see you all next Monday. Thanks so much for tuning in.